It was supposed to be an ordinary summer morning, the kind of morning where nothing bad could happen, where the dew still clung to the tips of the grass, the sun filtered softly through the trees, and birds chirped like they had every day before. In the quiet town of Warren, Massachusetts, it was just another Tuesday, peaceful, predictable, safe. At around 10 a.m., a mother pulled up to the local pond and dropped off her 16-year-old daughter. Her name was Molly Bish. Molly wore her blue swimsuit, tossed a towel over her shoulder, and slipped on her whistle. She had just started working as a lifeguard at Coleman's Pond, a scenic swimming hole tucked beneath a canopy of trees. Her mother, Molly Bish, watched as Molly walked down the gravel path into the trees and toward the lifeguard post, just like the day before. But on this day, something felt different. You see, the day before, Magi had noticed something. Someone that didn't belong. A strange man, sitting in a white car, parked alone at the edge of the lot. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He just stared at her, at Molly, at everything. Magi didn't think too much of it then, until the next morning. Because this morning, June 27, 2000, Magi looked around. No white car. No strange man. Still, the unease lingered. She pushed it aside. After all, Warren was the kind of place where people still left their doors unlocked. The kind of town where nothing ever happened. Until now. Magi drove away, and it would be the last time she saw her daughter alive. When visitors arrived at the pond later that morning, the lifeguard chair was empty. Molly's flip-flops were still in the sand. Her backpack lay unopened near the base of the post. But Molly was gone. She had simply vanished. There were no screams, no signs of a struggle, no notes, no trail, just an empty lifeguard station in the sun. The community was shaken. A massive search began. Helicopters flew overhead. Dive teams scoured the water. Dogs traced scents through the woods. Hundreds of volunteers combed the forests, the rivers, the quiet corners of town. But there was nothing. No trace of Molly. No answers. Only grief. The investigation drew national attention. Every parent in America saw Molly's photo on their television screens. A bright, athletic teen with blue eyes and a kind smile. She was the girl next door, the child you trusted to keep others safe. Now she was missing, and no one had answers. Days turned to weeks, weeks into months. The family held out hope, refusing to let the silence become final. Her parents lit candles, held vigils, spoke at schools. They pleaded with the world to remember Molly's name. But time kept passing. 3 years later, in 2003, a hunter stumbled upon bones in a remote wooded area in Palmer, Massachusetts, less than 5 miles from where Molly had disappeared. The terrain was steep, isolated, quiet. Police arrived. Forensics worked the scene. It was her. The worst fear any parent could have confirmed. Molly Bish was gone, murdered, left alone in the woods for years, while the world moved on. But her killer? Still free. No fingerprints. No DNA. No suspects solid enough to charge. Theories abounded. Was it a random attack? A serial predator? Someone who had watched her, waited, and knew exactly when to strike? In the years that followed, new names surfaced. A convicted sex offender. A man who had previously been seen lurking in the area. Another who had ties to other disappearances. But none of them ever faced justice for Molly's death. Her case remains unsolved. And perhaps the most haunting part is this. Someone was watching Molly before she vanished. Someone waited for the exact moment her mother drove away. Someone knew the quiet path, the blind spots, the perfect time to disappear into the woods. Someone had done this before, or would do it again. Molly Bish, Molly's mother, never stopped fighting. She became an activist pushing for better alert systems, organizing community safety campaigns, and speaking to anyone who would listen. Her grief became her fuel. Her loss turned into purpose. But behind every speech, behind every law passed in Molly's name, remains one unshakable truth. A mother watched her daughter walk into the woods and never come back. And 25 years later, no one has been held responsible. What happened in those trees? Who was the man in the white car? How did no one hear a scream? And why, in a country with every tool at its disposal, can a teenage girl vanish without a trace and be forgotten? This isn't just a story about a missing girl. It's a story about how silence grows over time, about the questions that never get answered, about families left behind in the echo of tragedy. It's about the moment when safety becomes an illusion and someone watching from a distance decides it's time. So the question isn't just what happened to Molly Bish. It's this: how many others are out there, still waiting, still watching, still walking among us, untouched? And why, after all these years, do we still not know who took her? Stay with us, because in the next few minutes, we'll uncover what investigators missed, what witnesses saw, and why the truth behind Molly Bish's disappearance may still be hiding in plain sight. Molly Ann Bish was born on August 2, 1983, to John and Magi Bish in Warren, Massachusetts. She was the youngest of 3 children. Her siblings, Heather and John Jr., described her as a lively, loving, and compassionate young woman. Molly was raised in a small rural town located in Worcester County, approximately 70 miles west of Boston. Warren, with its population of just under 5,000 people, was considered a quiet and safe community. The Bish family lived in a modest home on a residential street. Molly was known for being friendly, active, and involved in school and community activities. She attended local schools and was a student at Warren Middle School, where teachers and classmates described her as diligent and well-liked. Molly was an athletic teenager who enjoyed participating in sports, including softball and basketball. She also enjoyed spending time outdoors and was particularly fond of swimming. Friends and family recall her as someone who cared deeply about others and often looked out for those who were younger or in need. In the summer of 2000, following her sophomore year of high school, Molly secured a job as a lifeguard at Coleman's Pond, a popular swimming area located near her home. The seasonal position was seen as ideal for a teenager like Molly, responsible, athletic, and capable. Her parents were supportive of her decision to work at the pond, viewing it as an opportunity for her to gain experience and contribute to the community. Molly's role as a lifeguard required her to maintain safety for swimmers, provide first aid if necessary, and oversee activities at the pond. Coleman's Pond was a well-known recreational spot in Warren, attracting families and local residents during the summer months. It featured a beach area, picnic tables, and a small parking lot. John and Magi Bish were considered attentive parents. Magi, in particular, took care to drive Molly to and from her lifeguard shifts, especially since the pond was located in a more secluded area surrounded by woods. Their close-knit relationship was evident in their daily routines and ongoing communication. In the days leading up to Molly's disappearance, the Bish family noticed nothing unusual in Molly's behavior or routine. She appeared excited about her job and looked forward to spending the summer working at the pond. Friends and coworkers did not report any concerns or conflicts involving Molly. The only incident that later gained significance occurred on June 26, 2000, the day before Molly disappeared. That morning, Magi Bish drove Molly to work at Coleman's Pond as usual. During that trip, Magi noticed a man in a white sedan parked near the pond's entrance. The man, described as being in his 50s with salt and pepper hair, was smoking a cigarette and appeared to be observing the area. Magi felt uneasy about his presence, but did not approach him or contact authorities at the time. Molly, for her part, did not express any concerns that day. She completed her shift without incident and returned home. The family carried on with their evening routine, unaware of the tragedy that would unfold the next morning. The following day, June 27th, Magi again drove Molly to her lifeguard job at Coleman's Pond. This time, they arrived shortly after 10 a.m. Magi reported that the area appeared empty, with no other vehicles or people present. Molly gathered her equipment, including her two-way radio and first aid kit, and walked toward her station by the pond. Magi watched her set up before driving away. Molly's siblings and friends would later emphasize that Molly was responsible and safety conscious. Her family strongly believed that she would not have left her post unattended without good reason. This belief, coupled with the suspicious circumstances surrounding her disappearance, reinforced the theory that foul play was involved. Despite extensive searches and the recovery of Molly's remains in 2003, the circumstances of her disappearance and death remain unresolved. Over 2 decades later, her life, characterized by kindness, ambition, and dedication to others, continues to be remembered by her family, friends, and the greater community. June 27, 2000. began like many other summer mornings in Warren, Massachusetts. The sun rose early, and the weather was warm, with temperatures expected to reach the high 70s. 16-year-old Molly Bish prepared for her shift as a lifeguard at Coleman's Pond, where she had worked throughout the month of June. Her mother, Magi, drove her to the pond as part of their usual routine. Magi and Molly left the house shortly after 10 a.m. According to Magi, the area around Coleman's Pond appeared empty when they arrived. No other vehicles or individuals were observed in the parking lot or near the pond. Molly gathered her work equipment, including her two-way radio, first aid kit, and sandals, and walked toward her station by the water. Magi watched her daughter set up the lifeguard post before driving away to run errands. That was the last confirmed sighting of Molly Bish alive. Later that morning, at approximately 11:45 a.m., local residents arrived at Coleman's Pond to swim. They found Molly's belongings at the lifeguard station, including her sandals, radio, and first aid kit. However, Molly was nowhere to be seen. After searching the immediate area and failing to locate her, the concerned residents contacted the authorities. Warren police and state officials responded quickly. The initial search focused on the pond itself and the surrounding wooded area. Divers entered the water to search for signs of Molly, while officers canvassed the area for witnesses or any indication of where she might have gone. Helicopters conducted aerial searches, and local volunteers assisted in combing the forested region surrounding Coleman's Pond. Despite these efforts, no immediate evidence explained Molly's disappearance. Witness interviews provided a crucial lead. Several people reported seeing a white sedan near the pond on June 26th, the day before Molly vanished. The vehicle was described as older, possibly a Dodge or Chrysler model. A man seen inside the car was described as being in his 50s, with salt and pepper hair and a mustache, smoking a cigarette. Magi Bish had also seen this man during her previous trip to the pond with Molly. A composite sketch was created based on eyewitness descriptions. Authorities circulated the sketch through media outlets and distributed it to nearby law enforcement agencies. Despite this, the man and the vehicle remained unidentified. The scale of the search for Molly Bish grew rapidly. It became the largest and most extensive missing person search in Massachusetts history at that time. Police, search and rescue teams, volunteers, and canine units scoured the area for days. Roadblocks and vehicle checkpoints were established near Warren. Authorities interviewed registered sex offenders and individuals with criminal histories in the surrounding communities. However, no significant leads emerged. As days turned into weeks, the Bish family organized public awareness campaigns. They distributed flyers, held press conferences, and participated in national media appearances to keep Molly's case in the spotlight. The search effort extended beyond Massachusetts, with tips and reported sightings coming in from other states. Despite exhaustive efforts, no verifiable sightings of Molly were confirmed, and no physical evidence surfaced that pointed to her whereabouts. The mystery surrounding Molly's disappearance deeply impacted the Warren community. Residents expressed shock, fear, and concern for the safety of their children. Parents became more cautious, and local law enforcement increased patrols and public safety efforts in the area. 3 years later, in 2003, Molly's remains were discovered in a wooded area of Palmer, Massachusetts, approximately 5 miles from Coleman's Pond. This discovery confirmed what many had feared, that Molly had been the victim of foul play. However, her killer has never been identified. The events of June 27, 2000, marked the beginning of an enduring mystery that continues to haunt investigators, the Bish family, and the community of Warren to this day. The disappearance of Molly Bish on June 27, 2000, set in motion the largest and most comprehensive missing person search in Massachusetts history. Law enforcement volunteers and specialized search teams collaborated in an unprecedented effort to locate the missing 16-year-old. Within hours of Molly's disappearance, authorities mobilized search operations around Coleman's Pond and the adjacent forested areas. Local police, state troopers, firefighters, and trained search and rescue personnel were joined by volunteers from the community. Divers thoroughly searched the pond, while helicopter teams provided aerial surveillance of the region. Despite these immediate efforts, no trace of Molly was found that day. The search quickly expanded beyond the pond. Authorities established roadblocks and checkpoints along nearby roads, stopping vehicles and questioning drivers in hopes of gathering useful information. Flyers with Molly's photo and a description were distributed locally and posted in surrounding towns. The Bish family, devastated yet determined, became active participants in the search and media outreach. They worked alongside investigators, organized awareness campaigns, and made frequent appearances on television to keep Molly's case in the public eye. Molly's image appeared on news programs, newspapers, and missing person posters across the country. In the days following the disappearance, specialized search teams, including K-9 units and mounted patrols, scoured the densely wooded areas around Coleman's Pond. The terrain, with its thick underbrush and challenging conditions, made the search effort difficult. Nevertheless, searchers covered every possible area, hoping to find evidence that could lead to Molly's whereabouts. Investigators also pursued several leads based on eyewitness reports from the day before Molly disappeared. A key focus was the unidentified man seen in a white sedan near the pond on June 26, 2000. Composite sketches were created and distributed widely. Despite receiving numerous tips regarding possible matches to the sketch, the man remained unidentified at the time. Law enforcement expanded their efforts by interviewing local residents, registered sex offenders, and individuals with known criminal backgrounds in the surrounding towns. They also reviewed recent parole records and examined known offenders with a history of violent crimes or abductions. As weeks turned into months, the investigation continued but yielded few concrete results. Searches were conducted in nearby towns, wooded areas, and along hiking trails. Investigators consulted with the FBI and other experts specializing in missing person cases and criminal profiling. In 2003, nearly 3 years after Molly's disappearance, the search came to a tragic conclusion. On June 9, 2003, a hunter discovered human remains in a remote wooded area of Palmer, Massachusetts, approximately 5 miles from Coleman's Pond. Law enforcement responded to the scene, and forensic teams began a detailed investigation of the site. Dental records confirmed that the remains belonged to Molly Bish. Nearby, searchers also discovered Molly's bathing suit, providing further confirmation that foul play was involved. The area where the remains were found was heavily wooded and not easily accessible, contributing to the difficulty of locating Molly earlier. The discovery of Molly's remains reignited the investigation. Law enforcement conducted extensive forensic analysis of the area and collected evidence. However, no conclusive evidence identified a suspect or provided clear answers regarding the circumstances of Molly's death. Over the years, several persons of interest emerged. One was Rodney Stanger, a convicted killer from Southbridge, Massachusetts, who had a history of violent behavior and was living in the area at the time of Molly's disappearance. Despite public speculation and investigative interest, no direct link between Stanger and Molly's case was established. In 2021, Worcester County District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. publicly identified another person of interest, Frank Sumner Sr., a deceased convicted rapist. Sumner, who passed away in 2016, had a criminal history that included violent sexual assaults. He had resided in central Massachusetts and reportedly owned vehicles similar to the one described near Coleman's Pond in 2000. Authorities conducted searches of properties associated with Sumner and reviewed potential evidence, but no definitive connection between him and Molly's case has been confirmed. The investigation remains active, with the Massachusetts State Police and the Worcester County District Attorney's Office continuing to pursue leads. Throughout the investigation, the Bish family remained dedicated to seeking justice for Molly. They established the Molly Bish Foundation, an organization focused on promoting child safety, supporting families of missing persons, and advocating for public awareness. To this day, Molly Bish's disappearance and death remain unsolved. The case continues to receive attention from law enforcement, media outlets, and the public. Authorities urge anyone with information, no matter how small, to come forward. The search for answers in the Molly Bish case represents not only a personal tragedy for the Bish family, but also a reminder of the enduring challenges and complexities involved in missing person investigations. The discovery of Molly Bish's remains in 2003 marked a devastating yet significant development in the long-running investigation into her disappearance. After nearly 3 years of uncertainty, her family, investigators, and the community finally had confirmation of what many had feared. Molly had been the victim of a crime. On June 9, 2003, a local hunter searching for a spot to set up a deer stand made a grim discovery in a remote, wooded area of Palmer, Massachusetts. The location was situated off Five Bridges Road, approximately 5 miles from Coleman's Pond, where Molly had last been seen. The hunter came across what appeared to be human bones partially concealed by underbrush and forest debris. Recognizing the potential significance, the hunter immediately contacted law enforcement. The Massachusetts State Police, along with local law enforcement and forensic experts, quickly secured the area and launched a comprehensive investigation of the site. Forensic teams carefully documented and collected the skeletal remains. The area was extensively searched for additional evidence, including clothing, personal belongings, or any items that could aid in identifying the victim or revealing the circumstances surrounding their death. On June 13, 2003, after preliminary forensic analysis, authorities confirmed that the remains belonged to Molly Bish. Dental records provided the conclusive identification. The discovery was a devastating blow to the Bish family, who had held on to hope that Molly might still be alive. Nearby, investigators also recovered a bathing suit believed to belong to Molly. The presence of the bathing suit, coupled with the remote location of the remains, reinforced the belief that foul play was involved in Molly's death. Following the discovery, law enforcement launched a renewed effort to gather evidence from the scene. The heavily wooded and secluded nature of the area presented significant challenges for investigators. Dense undergrowth, wildlife activity, and the passage of time made the recovery of forensic evidence difficult. Despite these obstacles, forensic teams meticulously combed the area. Soil samples, vegetation, and other potential evidence were collected for laboratory analysis. Investigators also mapped the location of each bone and item found, creating a detailed record of the scene. The wooded area where Molly's remains were found was known to be frequented by hunters, hikers, and individuals familiar with the region. Its remoteness, however, made it unlikely that someone unfamiliar with the area would have easily stumbled upon it. This detail led investigators to believe that the person responsible for Molly's death likely had knowledge of the local terrain. The discovery reignited public interest in the case. Media outlets across Massachusetts and the nation reported extensively on the development. Vigils, memorial services, and public events were held in Molly's memory, with the community expressing support for the Bish family and a renewed commitment to finding answers. Law enforcement emphasized that the investigation into Molly's disappearance and death remained active. Detectives re-interviewed witnesses, revisited earlier leads, and conducted new searches in the area surrounding where her remains were discovered. Over the years following the discovery, several persons of interest emerged. As mentioned in earlier chapters, these included Rodney Stanger, a convicted murderer with ties to the region, and Frank Sumner Sr., a deceased convicted rapist. Both individuals lived in central Massachusetts during the time of Molly's disappearance, and their criminal histories and locations placed them within the investigative scope. Despite extensive investigation, no physical evidence recovered from the scene or elsewhere has definitively linked any suspect to Molly's death. The forensic analysis of Molly's remains did not reveal a clear cause of death due to the advanced state of decomposition. Investigators have consistently stated that while the circumstances point to homicide, conclusive forensic evidence has been elusive. In the years since, law enforcement has continued to pursue leads and conduct new searches based on evolving information. The case remains officially open, with the Massachusetts State Police and the Worcester County District Attorney's Office committed to solving the case. The discovery of Molly Bish's remains brought both answers and enduring heartbreak. While it provided closure regarding her fate, it also underscored the persistent unknowns surrounding the circumstances of her death and the identity of those responsible. The Bish family, while devastated by the confirmation of Molly's death, has continued to advocate for justice and child safety. Their efforts have contributed to increased public awareness of missing persons cases and improvements in search and rescue protocols across Massachusetts. To this day, the wooded area in Palmer, Massachusetts, serves as a somber reminder of the tragedy that befell Molly Bish. For her family, the community, and investigators, the discovery of her remains marked both the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, the ongoing pursuit of justice for Molly. In the years following the discovery of Molly Bish's remains in 2003, the investigation into her disappearance and death has remained active, though frustratingly unresolved. Law enforcement officials, forensic experts, and the Bish family have persisted in their pursuit of answers, determined to bring justice to Molly's memory. The Massachusetts State Police, in collaboration with the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, have continued to follow leads, re-examine old evidence, and explore new investigative avenues. The complex nature of the case, compounded by the remote location where Molly's remains were found and the lack of definitive forensic evidence, has posed significant challenges. One of the most notable developments in the investigation occurred in 2009 when convicted murderer Rodney Stanger emerged as a person of interest. Stanger had lived in Southbridge, Massachusetts, not far from Warren, at the time of Molly's disappearance. After the death of his longtime girlfriend, Crystal Morrison, in Florida, investigators discovered that Stanger had relocated to Florida shortly after Molly's remains were found. Morrison's family provided information to authorities, raising suspicions about Stanger's possible connection to Molly's case. Stanger had a history of violent behavior, owned firearms, and was familiar with the areas surrounding Warren and Palmer. Additionally, his physical appearance bore some resemblance to the composite sketch of the man seen near Coleman's Pond in 2000. Despite these factors, investigators were unable to establish a direct link between Stanger and Molly Bish's disappearance or death. No physical evidence connected him to the crime, and Stanger has consistently denied any involvement. He remains incarcerated in Florida for the unrelated murder of Crystal Morrison. In 2021, the investigation took another turn when Worcester County District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. identified Frank Sumner Sr. as a person of interest in Molly's case. Sumner, who passed away in 2016, had a lengthy criminal record, including convictions for violent sexual assaults. He had lived in central Massachusetts during the time of Molly's disappearance. Sumner's name came to light after investigators re-examined cold case files and received new information regarding his activities and whereabouts. He reportedly owned vehicles similar to the white sedan seen near Coleman's Pond and had ties to individuals with connections to the area. Law enforcement executed search warrants at properties associated with Sumner, including garages and storage units. Investigators collected evidence and conducted forensic examinations. Despite these efforts, no conclusive evidence has emerged linking Sumner to Molly's case. Authorities have also utilized advancements in forensic science, including DNA analysis and genetic genealogy, in hopes of uncovering new leads. These techniques have been instrumental in solving other decades-old cold cases. But to date, no breakthroughs have been announced in Molly Bish's investigation. Throughout the years, the Bish family has remained steadfast in their advocacy for justice. They have worked closely with law enforcement, participated in public awareness campaigns, and continued to operate the Molly Bish Foundation,